Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our admins. Strange things do happen indeed in this world. The message reads like this. Good morning, Brother Nash. Please post for me. I think that I am in a far worse state than I was before this whole ordeal. My family disowned me, and the very one person I thought I was doing this for is no more. I am all alone, secluded, and no one to talk to. Poverty was better than the hell that I am currently in. Growing up as an orphan, I vowed that I would do better. We grew up hopping from one homestead to the other. You could see that we were forcing ourselves on people's throats because no one really wanted us from the paternal side to the maternal side. Some relatives ill-treated us, and I vividly remembered that I was once molested by one of my uncles, and it was really painful. One day I cried so hard when I had an infection from using the dirty rags that I used to use for menstruation. Instead of the guardians asking what was wrong with me, they had falsely accused me of sleeping around, and I was bitten like a snake that had crawled itself into the house. My brother and I had found solace, and when the local priest took us in, we went to live at that orphanage. Life at that orphanage was okay. Food over our heads, and we went to school. But the day that I ran away from that orphanage, my brother, I do not say that this thing, it happens at all the orphanages. They came, this other man, and he was driving a black car, and he wore a black suit. It was him and other few men, because it was like a convoy of cars. So the reason as to why I was able to see everything that was going on, it was because of the dormitory in which I was sharing with some of the girls that were at that orphanage. I could actually see everything. So for some reason on that particular night, I could not fall asleep. Then that was when I saw the headlights of different cars that were driving into that orphanage. So I woke up silently. And so this woman, she was like a Roman Catholic sister, and she was the one who was the head of our orphanage. So what happened was that when I saw her speaking with these men, I thought maybe they had came to do something there. But then I started to see that these men, they started to enter into our dormitories one by one. Finally, when they came into that dormitory where I was sleeping, sharing with the other girls, that was when I saw that these men, they were half naked, and they wore sort of like an apron, but when they would turn around, you could actually see that they were naked. You could see their buttocks. These men, the aprons that they wore, it represented this other symbol that is well known to be a symbol of Freemasonry. And those men, they walked into our dormitories one by one, and they performed some sexual activities, and they thought that I was fast asleep, but in fact I watched them and I saw them doing all of these things. So after I had seen these men performing all of these sexual activities, that was when I convinced my brother. After I had convinced my brother, we then ran away. We stayed in the street in Joburg for a little while. From there on, I managed to get a partner whom I started to stay with. So this man, he was quite an old man. By the time that this man passed away, he had his money that was in one of these other suitcases. So I took that opportunity after he had been admitted into the hospital, and I called my little brother, and he came and he picked up that suitcase. So the relatives, when they came, they did not find anything, and he was dead anyway. So there was no one to ask me about the whereabouts of this money. This man, he was a hustler. He used to hustle a lot, and I don't know where exactly he got this money from. So that was the money that I used to open up a clothing boutique. But business was low. Despite doing everything by the book, I was not making any profit at all. The money was only sufficient to cover for overhead expenses. Nothing more, nothing less. So I explained my predicament to one of the ladies who owned a cluster of boutiques. that I was drowning in debt and not making any profit. And I was told that if I wanted to make serious money, I would have to make some sacrifices, make some hard decisions. What on earth were they talking about? As I was not very good at solving riddles, I went back to them to explain what they had meant when they said I would have to make hard decisions. The couple had replied that if I was serious about the business and making a mark in the business community, I should tell them. Maybe the couple knew something that I did not. Maybe the couple had connections in high places. Maybe they did not pay taxes. Maybe they had cheap supplies. And they bluntly told me that their supplier was in Mozambique, and if it suited me, they would be going there to Mozambique in 3 days, so I needed to prepare for the journey. I said, okay, let me go and apply for my passport at the Home Affairs. Then that lady just laughed and she said, so if you think foreigners can come here without passports, so you think that you need a passport to go to Mozambique, we will just go there. So we ended up going there. I didn't have a passport, and my friends as well, they didn't have any passports at all. We just had this other Mozambican guy who was their driver. He was the one who legally crossed with their car, and we were taken by this other taxi. Then we found ourselves in Mozambique. But the day that I went to Mozambique, that was the day that I dug myself into a hole so deep that crawling out of it was going to be a mammoth of a task. We arrived at the place where the couple was talking about just before sunset, and the couple was the first to go in and I was the last to go in. To my surprise, when I entered into a room that was pitch black. I could not see anything. I only heard heavy breathing. The voice on the other end narrated how I grew up, how our parents had abandoned us, how I was eager to prove a point to my relatives, to throw eggs in their faces, to prove that I had made it. Then this voice started to laugh at me the moment when it said that I can see that you want to prove a point to your relatives, but let me tell you this, that you are going to swim in money only if you have the courage. Had I known at this juncture, I would have gotten up and walked away, but I was wet behind the ears, unexperienced on how everything works. So the person with the voice had given me a stick to hit whatever that would come my way. So first it was a third pole. I tried hitting it with a stick, but it was jumping up and down, but managed to hit it the third time. Next came screeching bats coming at me at full throttle, and managed to hit them one by one until they all disappeared. Just as I was admiring the work that I had done, a huge snake fell off from nowhere, and it was now a battle for life. I was fighting for my survival. I had tried screaming and calling for help, but it seemed that no one was hearing me. The battle seemed to last for an eternity, and what I last remembered was running for the exit. The snake wanted to devour me. Is this what the couple were doing? On the other hand, is this what made them to be successful, fighting for dear life? Was there something that I was supposed to know, stranger than fiction? I woke up and I was feeling faint, and I was placed beside a fire where there was a pot that was on that fire with different things in it. I saw the bats that I had hit and the tadpoles boiling away. Sitting staring at me was a very old man, maybe 100 and something years old. He told me that I had passed the test partially, as my courage and bravery was being tested. So the old man then gave me a bronze coin and said that I should just put it in water in my shop and just to change the water each and every day. I went back home to my country and did as instructed by the old man, and my businesses began to bloom. Customers began to flock into my boutique, and I would regularly fly to China and Turkey. But during the night at exactly 0200 hours, a snake will come and it will be intimate with me. Even if I try to fight it off, it's like I'll be caught up in a trance. I will see myself making love to this snake, but whenever I make love to this snake, it is very painful. The torture almost lasts each and every night 30 minutes when this snake comes to sleep with me. So I returned back to Mozambique, but this time around, when I returned back to Mozambique, I went there legally, and when I went to that same healer, I found out that he had passed away, but his daughter is the one who is working with one of her nephew, and they are the ones that are doing these money-making rituals. So I spoke with them, and they said that indeed they know about me because their father told them about almost everyone who has ever visited his shrine. So I told them that this is what I am facing almost on a nightly basis. I am being abused by a snake that abuses me violently. So they then told me that they were going to give me a charm. So this charm that they gave me, it is in form of a small root. Whenever I see a young man that I want to use for my rituals, then I just place it underneath my tongue, and then I would go and I will communicate with that young man. Then I will take him, or he will take me to his place. The moment that I will be sleeping with him, the snake, it will be actually sleeping with that boy that I will be sleeping with. These are my own rituals. As for this young man that I have slept with, I have lost count. I have slept with almost every young man that you can find. I have slept with a lot of young men, and I usually get them from the colleges or from the universities. This is my confession. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear sister, sent to me through our admin. Strange things do happen in this world. Just imagine having a snake coming to abuse you each and every night. Then you are told that you just place this root underneath your tongue. Then you sleep with this young man. Your Ben 10s.